Okay.
All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
It's time for one of my favorite recurring segments here on Breaking Points, going all the way back to some of our early work at Rising, laying out for the world just how terrible of a politician that Vice President Kamala Harris is. Now, I've said it before, I was genuinely shocked when Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris. He may be old, but I thought that he had better political instincts than to pick somebody like her. I mean, we're talking about someone who did so poorly they had to drop out before the Iowa caucuses, and at various points was polling lower than Andrew Yang in her own home state. Now, nonetheless, the media tried to make her happen over and over again, historic in her identity, focusing only on that because if you ever paid a modicum of attention to her, it's obvious she was one of the least talented people at the top of American politics. And hilariously enough, while the media is still carrying water for her, her boss, Joe Biden, and many of the people in the White House are beginning to realize just how big of a mistake that they made. The drama has consumed Washington over the holiday weekend. I'll try to lay it out for you. It starts with that Politico story. It was titled, quote, "Not a Healthy Environment. Kamala Harris's Office is Rife with Dissent." Now, the story details how Harris's staff is inept, bumbling, afraid of Harris's chief of staff, Tina Flournoy, but that ultimately Harris fosters an environment which is insular, where she does not want to get challenged or hear other facts. And it's so bad, 22 of her former and current aides spoke to Politico of how bad of a boss she is and how terrible it is to work for her. Now, it's always amusing to see that happen. The proper thing probably would have been to just brush it off. But the White House went into full defense mode, with White House advisor Cedric Richmond saying on CNN that the people leaking against her are trying to sabotage her. And now, the reason, though, the White House is so concerned about those stories is, number one, they know it's true. Harris's campaign was rife with missteps. She had no strategy. Her staff were consistently leaking against her during her campaign. None of it is new. But number two is because they are terrified. Because per Axios, they now see how terribly she might do in an election matchup. Here's what Axios writes, quote, "Harris would be the presumptive nominee if Biden didn't run. Administration sources believe it would be nearly impossible to unseat the first black woman vice president." They add, quote, "Yet many Democrats, including some current senior administration officials, are concerned she could not defeat whomever the Republican Party puts up, even if it were Donald Trump." They continue, "Some Democrats close to the White House are increasingly concerned about Harris's handling of high-profile issues and political tone deafness, and question her ability to maintain the coalition that Biden rode to the White House." That's as good as Washington drama as it gets, folks. People who are close to the White House and people inside of it going around town saying, oh no, there's no way this woman would win if she had to run in 2024. And worse, there's nothing we can do to make sure she's not the nominee because she's the first black vice president. Now, damned if they do, damned if they don't. You can choose to see this as tawdry gossip. I see it in one of my political maxims, which is that ultimately, things based upon lies always fall apart. Everyone, literally everyone, knew Kamala Harris was a terrible politician. Inauthentic, her interviews are a train wreck, she is not particularly eloquent or striking in any real way. And I don't forget that this is how she handled her very first high-profile interview as vice president.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
God, what a mess. Basically, the only thing that this woman had going for her was her heritage and the media who did everything they possibly could to get her over the finish line during the primary, where she still crashed and burned in one of the worst campaign defeats in modern memory. Now, she was given an ill-advised second chance by Joe Biden, who calls himself a transitional president to someone like her. But now that the transition is actually possible, the very people who work for Biden are realizing there is no way she could pull it off. Watch this space very closely over the next several months and possibly the next couple of years. If Joe Biden does not end up running for president again, this is all a moot conversation. But as his own advisors told Axios, a man would be 81 years old when seeking re-election. The truth of the matter is you're fighting against an actuarial table every day, and crazier things have happened before in politics. It would not be a surprise at all if Harris does end up the nominee, crashed and burned again, and these people would have nobody but themselves to blame for it. Crystal, I think it's a really hilarious story. Obviously,
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
that's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.